Good morning. Welcome to Miracles Live 365. If you can, just close your eyes for a minute and take a deep, grateful, contented breath. Today we begin by tucking our chin and bowing our heads, knowing that God is all there is and we are one with it. We surrender all that we are to all that God would have us be. We bow our heads, our hearts, our desires, and our agendas to God's will. We trust that God knows us and loves us as we make our way home to peace. We trust that we'll see miracles where we once saw lack and limitation, and will be assisted in solutions where we once saw dead ends. We commit to remembering that we are each immersed in God's holy ecstasy and audaciousness, where everything is possible and perfect. And we give thanks for another day of miracles and miraculous encounters. And may we always remember that this grace is not just for our own peace and joy, but that each of us be a fearless extension of God's love. God, I never get tired of that prayer. So yesterday we had that perfect lesson, I trust my brothers who are one with me. And it was the perfect lesson for me yesterday because there was a brother I was having a little trouble trusting. And I loved what Maureen said about, just trust the Holy Spirit in your brother, and then you're relaxed and at peace. Anybody want to share what yesterday's lesson was like for you?
I do, Elizabeth.
Great.
This is Teresa. I heard some of yesterday's talk, but not the whole thing. And I really think this is it for me. And that second paragraph, perception has a focus. It is this that gives consistency to what you see. Change but this focus, and what you behold will change accordingly. Your vision now will shift to give support to the extent which has replaced the one you held before. Remove your focus on your brother's sins, and you experience the peace that comes from faith and sinlessness. I was reading this, and I thought I would like today to not talk about my brother's sins. I wonder if I can go all day without saying, and sometimes the word sin is heavy. It can be just a little annoyance or a little something that I saw yesterday in somebody that was a little bit off-putting to me. Can I go today without putting that story out there, without saying that out loud? Because that is focusing on my brother's sins. And so I'm trying to make that commitment for today. So thank you.
Lovely. Yeah, that's great. I love how Holy Spirit will take each lesson and turn it individually into what I need to do for me. And I love you just zeroing it down for one day. So some of these things, if we thought, for the rest of my life, I'm never, that would be tough. But for one day, yeah, I can try that. So I thought we didn't get a chance to read the introduction yesterday.
I can help, Elizabeth.
Okay, so we're going to start on page 336, the introduction to the lessons 181. Okay, and then so you want to start, Teresa, with paragraph 1?
Okay. Our next few lessons make a special point of firming up your willingness to make your weak commitment strong. Your scattered goals blend into one intent. You are not asked for total dedication all the time as yet, but you are asked to practice now in order to attain the sense of peace such unified commitment will bestow, if only intermittently. It is experiencing this that makes it sure that you will give your total willingness to following the way the Course sets forth.
Don't you love how practical it is, Teresa? It hits exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're all like that. All of us are like that.
And honestly, Elizabeth, a day seems like a long time to me. So I'm already saying, you know what? Just keep trying, and if you fall, it's okay. Just get back on the horse.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Our lessons now are geared specifically to widening horizons and direct approaches to the special blocks that keep your vision narrow and too limited to let you see the value of our goal. We are attempting now to lift these blocks, however briefly, 24 hours. Words alone cannot convey the sense of liberation which their lifting brings, but the experience of freedom and of peace that comes as you give up your tight control of what you see speaks for itself. Your motivation will be so intensified that words become of little consequence. You will be sure of what you want and what is valueless.
And so we start our journey beyond words by concentrating first on what impedes your progress still. Experience of what exists beyond defensiveness remains beyond achievement while it is denied. I have to say that again because I didn't get it. Experience of what exists beyond defensiveness remains beyond achievement while it is denied. It may be there, but you cannot accept its presence. So we now attempt to go past all defenses for a little while each day. No more than this is asked, because no more than this is needed. It will be enough to guarantee the rest will come.
So to me, that's saying that right now it's difficult to give up that talking about your brother because we don't yet get the bliss that's on the other side of that. So right now, we sound just like little Catholic schoolgirls who are, I'm going to do the right thing. But this is saying if you really got the value of it, it wouldn't even be difficult. Okay, so we're on lesson 182, page 339. As I said before I hit the recording, this one is one of my favorites. It's very metaphorical, so we're not going to take it apart or analyze it much, but just feel this lesson, because as I say, this lesson is one that to me just speaks right to the deepest parts of my heart. I'll start, and Teresa, I'm also going to take the first sentence of paragraph 2 because it's one of Jesus's double negatives, which drive me crazy, but otherwise you'll finish it. Okay. This world you seem to live in is not home to you. And somewhere in your mind you know that this is true. A memory of home keeps haunting you, as if there were a place that called you to return, although you do not recognize the voice nor know what it is the voice reminds you of. Yet still you feel an alien here, from somewhere all unknown. Nothing so definite that you could say with certainty you are an exile here. Just a persistent feeling, sometimes not more than a tiny throb, at other times hardly remembered, actively dismissed, but surely to return to mind again. I hope some of you are nodding your heads as you hear this. Now the next sentence is no one but whereof we... Let's make it everyone knows whereof we speak. Okay, Teresa, take it.
No, everyone knows whereof we speak. Yet some try to put all their suffering in games they play to occupy their time and keep their sadness from them. Others will deny that they are sad and do not recognize their tears at all. Still others will maintain that what we speak of is an illusion, not to be considered more than just a dream. Yet who, in simple honesty, without defensiveness and self-deception, would deny he understands the words we speak?
So I'm sure you all get that idea that, and I thought when he used the word games about the sharp-edged toys we play with, games like, I'm gonna talk shit about my brother. That's a game we play. Games like, if I get this, then I'll be happy. There's all these ways. By the way, I meant to say this before we started. In Eastern thought, there's a phrase that I've always loved, and it's called the great nostalgia. The great nostalgia. And it's the idea that if we sit still, which is why stillness is the key to this lesson today, if we sit still, that deep longing for home comes up in us. But we hate that feeling. So we run about and do all the things paragraph 2 lists to avoid that stillness. And it's partly because we think it ends in the longing, but the longing is the step towards the beauty of home. We speak today for everyone who walks this world, for he is not at home. He goes uncertainly about in endless search, seeking in darkness what he cannot find, not recognizing what it is he seeks. 1,000 homes he makes, yet none contents his restless mind. He does not understand, he builds in vain. The home he seeks cannot be made by him. There is no substitute for heaven. All he ever made was hell.
Perhaps you think it is your childhood home that you would find again. The childhood of your body and its place of shelter are a memory now so distorted that you merely hold a picture of a past that never happened. Yet there is a child in you who seeks his father's home and knows that he is alien here. This childhood is eternal, with an innocence that will endure forever. Where this child shall go is holy ground. It is his holiness that lights up heaven, and that brings to earth the pure reflection of the light above, wherein are earth and heaven joined as one.
I love the fact that science is confirming this, that our memories, that what we remember something, all we're remembering is the last time we remembered it, which was a memory of the last time before that we remembered it. So how many of you have that longing to be back in your family of childhood or in the actual home? I know I often have dreams about one of my childhood homes or my grandmother's home. And that's that, again, we want home so much, but we look for home everywhere it isn't, and we don't look in the one place it is. Does anybody want to say anything before we keep reading?
Oh, I'm just so grateful, thank you, to be having this conversation, because I feel like this all the time, like I just want to go home.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful to know that other people feel the same way and that it's in the book. And but so is what you're saying is what we're hearing, that we go home by closing our eyes and going to God and remembering?
Yeah, well, there's two things I think about this is my theory on this lesson. Notice it says, I will be still an instant and go home. So I think one of the things this lesson is talking about is the holy instant. And that one is so accessible to us. The minute that we shut everything down for just a second, we can go right to that place of joy and bliss. And Maureen, as an artist, you know that. You go that place when you're in your art. So there's that one. Then there is also the going all the way home, which, that's the Ram Dass quote we all love. We're just walking each other home. That's the one that's the full return to the oneness. So I think it's addressing both of them. But that's how I felt the first time I read this lesson. It's like I always thought I was weird, that I don't feel at home here. I have never, even from my earliest childhood, when some people talk about such happy childhoods, I can remember that deep yearning always being there. And I think everybody on the call feels that. Otherwise, you would be sleeping in this lovely Wednesday morning.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
Hey,
Thank
Elizabeth, it's Maureen. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
We do vacillate between this experience of longing and being.
And so this lesson really is, there are times when we are in such deep longing, and that is the ego saying something needs to be different here. And then we have all experienced this great breath of being that is, or maybe more rare. Maybe we spend more time in longing than being. But what I just wanted to point out was in paragraph 3, it says, all he ever made was hell. And for new students who are on this lesson today, because I know there's some people who are checking out and double dipping, and you're more than welcome to, there's a core concept between making and creating. And so it doesn't mean that everything we make here is hell. It means when we try and go rogue from God, we'll create a fracture. And it's sort of like a spiritual 2-year-old saying, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to have this separate haunt where where God is good on Sunday, but the rest of the week it's mine. And here it's saying, it's reminding us that we could create with God. And not that we're going to press our plans to God's hands, but that we're going to be more like an open channel to allow God to create through us. In that instance, we're home. When we get out of the way, that's how we get back home, is when we turn everything over to the will of God, which is it's impossible for the ego. So slowly we get to wear it away. I just wanted to bring up to light the idea of all he ever made was hell. When we're making things, it's man-made, it's temporal, it can be threatened. When we're creating with God, it's eternal. And that's a big concept, but I just wanted to bring it up. Thanks.
Thanks, Maureen. Okay. Anybody else?
Can I just add in on that? I love that, vacillating between longing and being. So the ego's, this isn't right, it should be different, versus the Holy Spirit's beingness of that all as well, and knowing that. And then it's, that holy instant, you get there, you feel it, you can't argue with it. Like now you know, words don't teach, the experience teaches. And then it's about stringing those holy instants together a little bit longer each time. And pretty soon that becomes, now you're proving it to yourself that, hey, this is the way to roll. And this is now becoming all you want, and you make it your priority. Can you imagine stringing holy instant after holy instant after holy, where it becomes the predominance of your beingness throughout the day? Holy shit. Sorry. But I mean, and we're already home. It's waiting there for us. It's not like we've got to get anywhere. It's just waiting for us to stop doing what we do, as Maureen just said. I just love this. I love it. These 180 to 200 lessons, that introduction, I really heard the introduction today. I really heard it. It was a short introduction. You tend to just kind of gloss over it, right? But this is about practicing it. This is about practicing it constantly and wanting only this and then proving it to yourself. So I'm just so excited because I think I'm on my way, guys. I'm so excited. Anyways, thanks, guys. Pass.
Great. All right. Yes,
Elizabeth?
You are on your way. Someone else?
Yeah, it was Regina. Hi.
Hi.
Just one more thought, and it's, I think it's just pretty similar to what everybody else is saying, but something that I used to practice was, and I wish I had known this when I was a kid, when I hated being at school and I wanted to be at home. But as an adult, there were moments when, there are still moments when I'm in a situation and I'm like, in my mind, screaming, I just want to be at home, I just want to be at home. And so I started a practice of just going within and inviting in spirit to bring in the feeling of what home would be, so that it didn't matter what my outside world was reflecting back at me, but by taking the breath and going inward and inviting spirit's feeling of home, it brought a sense of safety and groundedness and helped me to remember I'm already home. I'm not away from it. I'm never left it. It's within me. And wherever I go, home is. So I don't have to go anywhere and start creating this outdoor space or this some kind of space to make it home for me. and that at any moment when I feel like I'm not home, all I have to do is close my eyes and breathe and ask, and home will come to me. And that was what this lesson was, just kept coming up in me over and over again when I was reading it this morning. So
that's beautiful, Regina. Yeah, I like that a lot.
I love that. You know, my childhood home address, like Leslie was saying, this whole chunk of lessons is so beautiful. My childhood home address is 183, and that's tomorrow's lesson. And I was having a session with somebody yesterday, and we were literally talking about the spider and the turtle, who both, like, wherever they are, they're at home. And, you know, the spider weaves a web, and she can live wherever the heck she wants, and the turtle carries her home with her. And I love that, and I love that you're bringing that up. So, anyhow, pass.
I love the fact that we're talking about this because since coronavirus started, I've been so aware that I don't feel safe being on this planet, but I'm feeling safer all the time, and the Course is really helping. And as I've been listening, I've been given two things to paint coming out of coronavirus. One is called Home, and the other one is called This Holy Instant, which I already started, and it's a reminder for me. It's a painting I feel like I'm going to want to live with for the rest of my life, because it's the idea that Leslie was talking about before, that we can continually string together the Holy Instant and be continually in that place of peace and connection and home. Yeah. So thank you for everybody.
Yeah, you know, when I was a long time ago, I was on a movie set, and I asked the director, who was a really well-known, famous director. I said, "What's the most important thing about being a director?" And he said, "The most important thing about being a director is making sure your actors feel safe." And I was like, "Really? That's the most important thing?" But when you think about that, your idea of not feeling safe in the world, that is first cousins to fear. And so safety is first cousins to love. To help somebody to feel safe, that's a really beautiful way to care for others and yourself. You know, so, and we, mad ramble, but we can find true safety in God and God alone. Everything else is shifty. But God is constant. So having a spiritual practice is actually what brings us home. Anyhow, mad ramble. Pass it to you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, what a beautiful conversation. I feel called to defend the concept of longing because because I feel like you said it was ego. To me, ego is what we do with a longing. But I think if we did not have that, and I think maybe I see longing differently than the way you guys are talking about it. To me, the longing is that magnetic pull to go back to the source. And unfortunately, when it comes up, for many of us, we go to the sharp-edged toys to fill that space. And to me, this lesson is saying, if you sit in the stillness, the longing will bring you to the holy instant that Leslie described, that we will stretch. So I felt called on to say that, longing isn't a bad thing we want to get rid of. It's actually what we spend a lot of our time replacing with other stuff, so we don't really feel that pull. That it's sweet, but it also hurts, and so we like to distract ourselves from it. Yeah.
I mean, in a fractured world, we're going to feel longing. We have chosen this separation. We're going to feel longing. That's like a neutral and constant. And you're right, like how we answer the longing, the only thing that's going to truly answer the longing is love. So if we only long to know a greater God, a greater good, a greater connection with God, that longing will be answered. If we direct our longing towards people, places, and things, prayers and procedures and pills, I mean, we're just going to go on, romancing the breakup, and trying to fill it with things that are temporal. So, yeah, I love that you brought that up. Longing is just longing. It's just neutral. And, we all do feel it. But the only thing that will answer it is our remembering of that we could never long for God, that God is our breath. And That helps us to be still. That helps me to still my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, wonderful.
Paragraph 5. Yeah. And now we have a long metaphor. So, again, we're not going to explain it, but I think you'll just feel it. Paragraph 5, it is this child in you your Father knows as his own son. It is this child who knows his Father. He desires to go home so deeply, so unceasingly. His voice cries unto you to let him rest a while. He does not ask for more than just a few instants of respite, just an interval in which he can return to breathe again the holy air that fills his Father's house. You are his home as well. He will return. But give him just a little time to be himself within the peace that is his home, resting in silence and in peace and love. Teresa? Teresa, are you muted?
Sorry, I was. Wait a minute. I'm going to put on the stronger glasses. The child needs your protection. He is far from home. He is so little that he seems so easily shut out, his tiny voice so readily obscured, his call for help almost unheard amid the grating sounds and harsh and rasping noises of the world. Yet does he know that in you still abides his sure protection. You will fail him not. He will go home, and you along with him.
Do you want to say anything about that paragraph, Teresa? I love that paragraph.
No, it's great. I'm fine.
This child is your defenselessness, your strength. He trusts in you. He came because he knew you would not fail. He whispers of his home unceasingly to you, for he would bring you back with him, that he himself might stay and not return again where he does not belong, and where he lives an outcast in a world of alien thoughts. His patience has no limits. He will wait until you hear his gentle voice within you, calling you to let him go in peace along with you to where he is at home and you with him. So the child here, and it's all a capital C and capital H's, it's the Christ in you. But instead of seeing the Christ as the adult or whatever, it's the childlike Christ, the innocent, defenseless, who needs you, he needs us, who needs each one of us. Teresa?
When you are still an instant, when the world recedes from you, when valueless ideas cease to have value in your restless mind, then you will hear his voice. So poignantly he calls to you that you will not resist him longer. In that instant he will take you to his home, and you will stay with him in perfect stillness, silence, and at peace, beyond all words, untouched by fear and doubt, sublimely certain that you are at home.
Rest with him frequently today, for he was willing to become a little child that you might learn of him how strong is he who comes without defenses, offering only love's messages to those who think he is their enemy. He holds the might of heaven in his hand and calls them friend and gives his strength to them that they may see he would be friend to them. He asks that they protect him, for his home is far away, and he will not return to it alone.
Christ is reborn, but as a little child each time a wanderer would leave his home. For he must learn that what he would protect is but this child, who comes defenseless and who is protected by defenselessness. Go home with him from time to time today. You are as much an alien here as he. I'm not understanding this. Christ is reborn as but a little child, each time a wanderer would leave his home. I'm confused by that.
Yeah, it's metaphorical, Teresa. So that's why I had said I wasn't going to analyze it. To me, it's that feeling that I don't know. I didn't understand that sentence. Christ is reborn as but a little child. Each time a wanderer would leave his home, for he must learn that what he would protect is but this child. I just think it's a metaphor that the Christ within you, in this lesson, because it's a lesson about that yearning, we're picturing the Christ in us as a child rather than a man. And so it's bringing out that sense of, I want to keep that Christ within me safe. I want to nurture it. I want to listen to it. I want to care for it. What we tend to do is ignore it, or be afraid of it. Yeah.
Maybe it's saying, don't worry, the Christ is reborn. Each time you are afraid and you think you leave your home, don't worry because Christ is in you.
Yes,
you have a little child. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
right.
yes, perfect.
Okay.
Anybody else want to explain that? I know I have wise teachers on the call. Okay, paragraph 11. Take time today to lay aside your shield, which profits nothing, and lay down the spear and the sword you raised against an enemy without existence. Christ has called you friend and brother. Christ has called you friend and brother. He has even come to ask your help in letting him go home today, completed and completely. He has come as does a little child who must beseech his mother for protection and for love. He rules the universe, and yet he asks unceasingly that you return with him and take illusions as your gods no more.
Elizabeth, I just love that you got this lesson because of all the inner child work that you do and teach, and it was like, this is the Elizabeth Keats lesson. And, when it says that Christ is born, it's like when we separate ourselves from our own divinity, we still can't separate ourselves. Christ, which means innocence and brilliance, tags after us. And it goes with us wherever we go, even when we think that we're asleep and in an illusion. It goes with us wherever we go, and it lives in us, and it literally is like that longing. It's that longing within us that the Holy Spirit will use everything it can to remind us that God loves us. So it even uses this innocent brilliance that is our birthright, that continues to just kind of gently nudges, like, are you sure you want to go down this path of separation? Like, you could have peace instead of this. And the amazing thing is that it's so gentle. Like, it doesn't say, like, you're going to hell, you're doing the wrong thing. It's like, okay, you could choose that, or you could be at peace. And the way that you read it, and the way that you embody it, and the way that you teach it in those classes, it sings this lesson. This lesson sings in your work, and I just really love that.
Oh, thank you, Maureen. Yeah, I don't think you were on at the start when I think it was before I started recording. When I saw I had this lesson, I was just filled with joy because it is one of my absolute favorite lessons. So, yeah. All right, Teresa, you want to take the last paragraph, and then we'll go into 2 minutes to let the words resonate with us.
You have not lost your innocence. It is for this you yearn. This is your heart's desire. This is the voice you hear, and this is the call which cannot be denied. The Holy Child remains with you. His home is yours. Today he gives you his defenselessness, and you accept it in exchange for all the toys of battle you have made. And now the way is open, and the journey has an end in sight at last. Be still an instant and go home with him, and be at peace a while.
Let's close our eyes and just take those words in for 2 minutes. Be still an instant and go home with him and be at peace a while. Be still an instant and go home with him and be at peace a while. Would anybody like to share anything that came up during the meditation, during the conversation, during the lesson?
I was in meditation. I was thinking about how somebody recently, a teacher who came to Speakeasy, made a request for some recordings. And I was realizing that I was sort of stressed by that. Like, I was like, oh my God, I got to get these recordings back to her, and there's a lot, and it's going to take me a little while. And I was just like, Holy Spirit was like, Maureen, you could just tell her that that you're not going to be able to do it, that you're going to do it at the pace of peace, like you do everything else, and that's okay. And so for me, doing things at the pace of peace is a game changer. It's a total game changer. Like, it literally let me relax into the moment instead of being plagued by a million push and pulls of the world. And I just offer that to you. And that's all I would say.
Thanks. Yeah, I forgot that there are newcomers. I had a really difficult time with the male pronouns and the fathers and the brothers. I think the other day we came to one of the lessons, or maybe it's in the text. There's like one place in the whole book where the word mother is. So, yeah, but that words are symbols of symbols twice removed, and we can let ego make it be about the words if we want to, or we can hear what the message is. And today's message is such a really beautiful one as far as I'm concerned, and I hope you can relate to it too. Anybody, given that there are new people, anybody have any questions or comments, or any people who are not new have any questions or comments?
Elizabeth, this is Barbara.
Hi, Barbara.
I particularly have been fed by the example that Maureen gave of a director creating safety. I'm a long-time facilitator of groups, and it's amazing how the energy changes. and how much people will share. And people will let their egos go when we feel safe. And I don't think we set out to make each other feel unsafe, but it takes a lot of intention and discipline to create consistent safety. And I think you guys do such a good job of that on these calls. But her when she said, what does a director do? A director creates safety. That was just powerful for me. I mean, it's something I believe and something I know, but, you think of a Hollywood director, I mean, all the things they do. Oh, they're doing the same thing I'm doing as a facilitator, creating safety.
Yeah. Thank you, Barbara. Yeah. I think Maureen does that so beautifully and effortlessly. And I think it's partly because, this is my theory when I was a teacher too, because other teachers would often be amazed at the things students were willing to write about or share in my classrooms. They'd be like, "Whoa, nobody would ever do that in my classroom." And I think it's partly because Maureen never puts herself above us. She's always in that process of sharing her own stuff, so that we can then openly share our stuff and know that it's going to be all right, that I'm not going to feel less than because there's this teacher who's way up there, high above me. I think that's one of the ways that we create that safety. And for those of you new on the call, the beauty for me of these calls has always been that I can bring whatever I am in the middle of, and the lesson 99% of the time just zeroes right in on it, and then the conversation, the discussion will show me how to get out of that place. And it has worked over and over and over. And that's what that introduction that Leslie was talking, I think it was Leslie. Yeah, Leslie was saying. That's why that introduction is. It looks like nothing, but it's worth rereading. We want to practice this. Like today, if you are one of the people who sets up the timer, if you download the app for A Course in Miracles, it'll give you a timer to tell you when to remember the lesson. Well, it's funny. I set my timer this morning before I meditated, expecting it was going to go off every hour, and it never did. And I was like, "Gee, I've been sitting in this meditation for a long time. You're telling me an hour hasn't come by?" Well, it turned out they didn't set, because today's lesson, we're asked to think of it every 8 minutes. So there wasn't enough room to set the timer up. So we don't want to ever get ritualized about it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just simply saying today's one of those lessons you want to remember so often. Every 8 minutes would be ideal. But any time we're not at peace, and that's what Leslie was talking about, we want to reach that point where we're in that state of the holy instant 24/7. But when you recognize, oops, I've gone back to that other place, that's when we pull ourselves back and say, this holy instant, I will go home. And I go home with, again, I'm glad Maureen brought that up. We're not talking about Jesus Christ here. That's why I was uncomfortable analyzing the child business, they're not talking about literally Jesus Christ, the child. We're talking about our Christ consciousness in the form of a defenseless child. Yeah. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Thank you for that, Barbara.
Mm-hmm. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you beautifully.
Okay, so I didn't even realize this. I thought this was a recording. I've been listening from day one.
That's funny.
It was a recording. I thought it was Central Time. But anyway, my name is Dennis. I've been listening to the last parts of the lesson prior, meaning with Maureen. We read the epilogue yesterday, and I have yet to. And so my question will be this, because I am going to be double dipping. I am more interested in starting all over, just to hear how this group, or whoever the group is, expresses it. But I'm concerned about the double dipping only because of what the Course has said, to do one lesson a day. So
that's such a good question. That's such a good question because I think what you want to do is the lesson of the early call. That'll be the lesson you'll apply. But if you want to double dip, it's just a matter of listening to the truth of what you're hearing for each day. Does that make sense? Like I listened into the early call this morning, and I'm not going to spend today talking about, that tree outside has no meaning except that I'm not going to do that lesson. But I love just being reminded of the continuity of all of it. And, it's like a perfect, very elaborate picture puzzle where every piece fits perfectly with every other piece. So, that was a very good question. Yeah.
Okay, good. That eases my mind.
Yeah, great.
So,
welcome aboard.
Thank you. Pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yes, Elizabeth, 100%. Each lesson is every lesson. But they were designed to move from one to the next, to slowly erode, and many times as a new student, you'll think the goal is finishing the course, which is funny, You hear from some people who are like, yeah, I read the course, and I'm like, really? Like, that's a very casual statement I have not read the course. I'm attempting to eat the course. I'm attempting to embody the course. And that's an ongoing thing. So, but yeah, every little engagement with it is not a minute wasted. That's what I'd say. So you're more than welcome to double dip. And
okay.
I wanted to go back to one thing that Elizabeth was saying about teacher-student hierarchy. And the reason that this group, I think, feels very safe is not because I have some magical handshake, but because I came up through 12-step, where everybody sat knee to knee and eye to eye, and the healing was in the middle of it. And everyone was a drunk, and yet everyone was also a potential leader. And what a beautiful freaking structure. So the way I run my groups and communities is based on what I was gifted by being an addict. So what the beautiful thing about that is that Holy Spirit can use all your broken places to gift you and to bless you. And then going from 12-step to miracles to find the same consistency of knowing that there are no hierarchies and every miracle is mutual. So the guy who gives the homeless person $1, that homeless person has to accept it for the miracle to work. And both sides of the seesaw are equal. The only thing that's important is that an exchange of love happened. So it doesn't matter what you look like, sound like, or feel like. We are all under the equal laws of love. Again, a huge and beautiful concept, but the love of God shines equally on all things like the sun. And when we pretend that that's not true, we totally fuck ourselves and each other. And that's why we don't do that here. We totally get fucked. Sorry. I know curses are like cayenne, but, sometimes that's the only word that'll work because we want to know the difference between heaven and hell. And we've been to hell. And we've been emasculated and annihilated by shitty-ass teachers who didn't know that they were students. So we don't do that here. Or at least we attempt not to.
So glad you dropped the fuck today because people really need to know what they're in for. I love it. Yeah, beautiful. Another concept came up for me is if this is your very first tiptoe in, so I wouldn't get hung up if you don't understand the later, like today's lesson or tomorrow's lesson. If those feel like whoosh, they're going over, just hold off on that because by the time you get to these lessons, they're gonna make a whole lot more sense. So if you can listen without going, I have to understand this right this minute. That's different. If you can do that. So anybody else got anything? Regina, I just keep coming back to what you said, and I just thought it was so perfect. As a person who, when I'm out, I'm always going, I just want to get home again. I thought that was so helpful. So beautiful. Anybody else have anything they want to share? Oh, that's so funny that Regina was texting me at exactly the minute that I was talking to her. This is how the magic happens. I have to say, how weird is that? All right. Anybody else? Otherwise, I'm going to close with the last paragraph here because I think it's a perfect prayer for today. But I just, any newcomer, oldcomer, anybody with an insight they're thinking about sharing but not sure about. Anything at all?
Hey, this is Shannon from Chicagoland area again.
Hi, Shannon. Welcome,
hi.
lady.
I'm seeing everybody at all the places now, and I love it. And that kind of brings me to the point right now where I'm double dipping this morning, and like home right now to me is kind of these communities. Like it's not even just my tangible house. It's like the people that are like in my life right now is making me feel at home. So like even just this call is making me feel less alone and like I'm at home. So I just wanted to bring that to, my attention and everyone's attention this morning.
Oh, Shannon, I love that because that's part of how I have gotten through these months alone in my house, month after month. The morning calls, oh my God, what would I do without them? So yeah, that's such a good thing to home can look a lot of different ways, and one of tribe is another word for it. Yeah, this is our family here, and thank goodness that Maureen along with Holy Spirit, created a safe home. Many of us weren't raised in safe homes, so the idea that we now have one where we can bring ourselves exactly as we are, messy, impatient, confused, lost, mispronouncing words, even though she's been an English teacher forever and mispronounced respite. I'm sitting here being embarrassed about that for the past 15 minutes. I can't believe I mispronounced that word. Yeah, you just bring who you are, and you are accepted and appreciated. Yeah.
Elizabeth, this is Janine. I just wondered if I could share just a few words about home, because throughout this beautiful conversation this morning, I was thinking of the movie The Wiz, and there's this beautiful song in there called Home, and I wondered if I could just read a few of the lyrics really quickly before we close, and I mean, you can still do a prayer or whatever, but I think they're just so appropriate for what we're doing today.
No, you're not allowed to read it quickly. You have to read it slowly and beautifully.
And be mindful. Okay, I will do that. If you're listening, God, please don't make it hard to know if we should believe in the things that we see. Tell us, should we run away? Should we try and stay? Or would it be better just to let things be? Living here in this brand new world, and I see that as God's world, might be a fantasy, but it has taught me to love, so it's real to me. And I've learned that we must look inside our hearts to find a world full of love, like your heart, like my heart, like home.
Oh, that's so perfect. I can't even believe it. Sometimes I'm amazed at what writers have, how writers, you figured they just opened A Course in Miracles, wrote the lyrics, and then closed the book again. That is gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you, Janine. That was any time on these calls, you have a lot to offer. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's close with the prayer. Would you, if you can, everybody, close your eyes and take a deep breath. Let's all hold hands. You can even lean back and forth a little bit. Just feel we are home. The second we open up to the love within and share that love together, let these words enter your heart. You have not lost your innocence. It is for this you yearn. This is your heart's desire. This is the voice you hear, and this the call which cannot be denied. The Holy Child remains with you. His home is yours. Today he gives you his defenselessness, and you accept it in exchange for all the toys of battle you have made. And now the way is open, and the journey has an end in sight at last. Be still an instant and go home with him and be at peace a while. Have the best day ever, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Love you all.
Beautiful call. Thank you. Bye-bye.